Hello, my name is Sam Bellman, and welcome to my podcast on Andragogy strategies. Okay. This podcast is going to be actually directed toward or aimed at teachers who are interested in transitioning into higher education or adult learning. I plan to offer insights and practical guidance and how to apply some of these strategies to further students' education in the adult or university setting. Okay. Okay. First, let's start off with some key principles of andragogy uh, and contrast them with pedagogical approaches that are used traditionally in the K through 12 settings. First, let's define andragogy. Okay, it is the art and science of teaching adults, whereas pedagogy involves teaching children. Okay, when analyzing the differences between these two approaches, one should begin by looking at Malcolm Knowles' foundational work on andragogy, particularly his assumptions about adult learners. There were six assumptions uh, that Knowles discussed. The first is the need to know. The second is self concept. Third is the learner experience. Fourth is the readiness to learn. Fifth is orientation to learning. And the sixth is the motivation to learn. Okay, I intend to focus on just a couple of these. One is the self concept of learning, and the other one is Knowles' assumption on learner experience. Regarding the self concept, adult learners should be actively involved and participate in the learning process. They should be allowed to help direct when, how, and the process of learning, uh, and also they should be tied into realistic situations that apply to their actual work and life. Okay. The other assumption, as regarding learner experience, adults come in with a great amount of life experience in education. This can be leveraged and used by the teacher to accelerate the learning process and also by tying it to realistic situations that they can bring back to work, further engagement. Okay. Applying these two concepts, I'm going to talk about two or three best practices with regard to teaching adults. Excuse me. The first one is getting to know the students and finding out about their work, career, and other life experiences, as you can use this by tying it into the instruction that you're going to give. Let me give you an example. I teach a class in preparation for the GD exam in Spanish. All the materials are in Spanish, the practice test is in Spanish, and the students will take the test in Spanish. My instruction is also in Spanish. One of the things I used to leverage this is I ask students about their background because many of them have studied for the citizenship exam or have taken the citizenship exam. And there's a part which involves answering over 100 questions with regard to American history, government, and social studies. This directly applies to the GED social studies component, though. If they have taken that, I will actually um, ask them questions about that and have them study directly for that because they can use the knowledge they already have to prepare more quickly for the exam. They probably know a lot of what's necessary to pass the exam already. Okay. The second best practices a strategy that I would recommend is when having class discussions, they should be prefaced with a set of rules and norms with a high emphasis on respect for each other's opinion and listening. Because adult education will involve more interaction in class discussions than it would in the K through 12 level. However, to further the teaching experience, I think it would be best to make sure that you include that in the syllabus and even may even have them vote on the class norms and rules so that way they are more invested in them. That will facilitate a more meaningful, respectful discussion. Thirdly, I would recommend certain strategies in which you would apply practical skills in real life situations. One of them would be project based learning, and the other one would be experiential learning. Both of those would tie into real life situations, for example, case studies, group based projects where they would create a product. It would tie in more closely to their work and make it more relevant. Thus, the students will be more willing to invest their time and effort in the project and will be more fully engaged in the class. Okay. Next, I would like to talk about my experience and what I would consider to be a success story in transitioning from K through 12 to adult education. Originally, when I got into teaching, I was just doing it as a part time job while I was transitioning from one job to another. I worked as a substitute teacher for several years at pretty much all grade levels, but my primary focus was at the high school level. Eventually, I started working at Fresno Adult School as a sub, and then was encouraged by one of the vice principals to get my teaching credential. Was hired part time and then full time. I feel that that has been the best fit for me, educational and career wise, because I find that it is very rewarding working for adults because they come in self motivated already, and you have to spend much less time in classroom management. That's always something you want to spend time in, regardless of the level. But when you're teaching high school and junior high in particular, a lot of it is maintaining the order of the classroom before you can proceed with the learning. With adult education, the students are more mature, they're more goal oriented. So, classroom management is not so much an issue, and you can focus more directly in guiding and instructing the students toward their careers. I would strongly recommend that a person who likes these approaches would look into that. Maybe also do some subbing at an adult school or observe some classes taught at the university level, or talk to some fellow colleagues regarding their experiences and higher or adult education. Okay, but there are some caveats and some reservations. Um, let's talk about the strategies first. I said that the differentiated between andragogy and pedagogy strategies. Actually, they're both applicable in situations because one of the pedagogy strategies is class lectures. That's something that should be used at all levels. Students look to the teacher to guide them and to provide information. Um, and the other one I talked about was learner experience. Young people also bring in learner experience, and a lot of times they are self motivated though. So you can't generalize to that degree. So those things may sometimes also be equally applicable in the K through 12 environment. And sometimes adult learners aren't always as mature and may need to be guided and motivated also. So it's not a black and white issue, but it's more of a matter of degrees. It's more nuanced than just saying one is involves certain strategies, one involves the other strategies. And the other thing I want to talk about was transitioning from one area of education to another. Each each one has their benefits. So, and it is a very serious decision changing from one area of education to another. So make sure you do your research, observe, make sure it's a proper fit for you. In general, I think I would recommend adult education for most people, especially if you're looking for a new experience in which you want to come in and maybe do a little bit less classroom management and more guidance and instruction. It's been a wonderful experience for me. The reward and the satisfaction I get from teaching is great. It's great. I've never had such a rewarding educational experience, and I encourage you to look into it. Okay. Well, that is it for today, and I will see you in my next podcast. Thank you.